The fog rolled in faster than we expected, swallowing the lake and the forest in minutes. One moment, everything was clear. The stars reflected perfectly on the water, the fire crackling beside us, and the next, the world was blanketed in thick, white mist. It was unnervingly quiet. Too quiet. My girlfriend Emma and I had rented the cabin for a weekend escape from the city, hoping for peace and quiet. We got more than we bargained for. That night started off like any other. We roasted marshmallows, laughed about how cliché our little getaway was, and made plans for hiking the next morning. But around 11 p.m., as the fog crept closer, Emma froze mid-laugh. "Do you hear that?" she asked, her voice barely louder than a whisper. I stopped poking the fire and listened. At first there was nothing but the occasional crackle of wood. Then I heard it, faint, almost inaudible, but definitely there. A murmur. It sounded like voices, but not distinct enough to make out words. "It's just the wind," I said, trying to reassure her. She wasn't convinced. "No, it's different. It sounds like someone whispering." Her words sent a chill down my spine. I didn't want to admit it, but she was right. The sound wasn't coming from the trees or the fire. It was coming from the direction of the lake. I grabbed my flashlight and stood up. "I'll go check it out. Stay here." "No way," she said, following me as I headed toward the shore. The air was cold, unnaturally so, and it only grew colder the closer we got to the lake. My breath fogged up in front of me as I stepped onto the dock, my flashlight cutting through the mist. That's when I saw it. A figure, barely visible through the fog, standing at the very edge of the dock. It was tall, hunched over, and completely still. My first instinct was to call out. "Hello, are you okay?" No response. The whispers grew louder, surrounding us, yet still impossible to understand. The figure didn't move. It was like it wasn't even alive. Emma grabbed my arm. "Let's go back." Before I could respond, the figure suddenly shifted. It turned toward us, or at least I think it did. Its features were impossible to make out, hidden in the mist, but I felt its gaze. My body froze. Every instinct screamed for me to run, but my feet wouldn't move. Then it spoke. "Help me." The voice was soft, almost pleading, but it didn't sound right. It wasn't human. There was a distortion to it, like an old recording played back at the wrong speed. Emma yanked my arm, snapping me out of my trance. We ran back to the cabin, slamming the door behind us. My heart pounded in my chest as I locked the door and pulled the curtains shut. For a moment, there was silence. I thought maybe it was over. But then, the whispers started again, louder this time, as if they were right outside the cabin. They circled us, moving from one window to the next. We huddled together in the living room, too scared to even breathe. Then came the knocking, slow, deliberate, and impossibly loud. It came from every direction. First the front door, then the windows, then the walls. Emma started to cry, and I felt completely helpless. "Why is this happening?" she whispered. "I don't know," I said, my voice trembling. The knocking stopped as suddenly as it had started, but the whispers didn't. They grew louder, angrier, until they were deafening. I covered my ears, trying to block them out, but it didn't help. It was like they were inside my head. And then, just as suddenly as it started, it stopped. The whispers, the knocking, everything. The cabin was completely silent. We stayed up the rest of the night, too scared to sleep. When the sun finally rose, the fog lifted, and everything looked normal again. It was like nothing had ever happened. We left without packing, too afraid to spend another minute there. I don't know what we heard or what we saw that night, but I'll never forget the whispers. Sometimes, late at night, when the world is quiet, I think I hear them again, and I wonder if they're calling me back.